So our family consists of a wife and I. We have a daughter who's slightly older than Cameron. He's now 41, but his trial started about 6 weeks after he was born, where he contracted a golden staph, which led to um, bacterial meningitis, and then lost part of his brain as a result of the blockages and so forth. So he needed a shunt. However, the doctors in the hospital said that he would not probably fit into society and that we should leave him in the hospital and go and have some more babies, was the doctor's term. We decided to take him home and give him as much time as possible of living in our family. And to our surprise, he took that challenge right from day one, and he's never let us down since. So when he came home, we had to watch him all the time, make sure nothing went wrong. Quite often, one or two of us had to sleep on the floor in his room or outside the room, just to make sure. But he never ever failed. He, he was one of these boys that had this disability, but he didn't let it fail him. And as he grew on, he was able to ride a bike when he was 3. And the doctor said he'd never be able to ride a bike ever. He was able to play cricket when he was playing under 7s and under 10s. In fact, he got a hat trick when he was playing under 10s at cricket. That's something that actually amazed me because I was the umpire at the time. So our philosophy was, if we're going to have Cameron as a member of our family long term, and from what we could see, things were going great, we would need to get involved in everything that he did. So we did. When he started playing cricket, and when he started playing golf, and then he joined into a youth club, we got involved in that as well. When he learnt to dance, we encouraged him to take lessons, all that type of thing. So the idea was to make sure that he had the same opportunity as his sister and anybody else. So I guess it's don't look back, don't be bitter, just look forward and try and plan for what else is the next challenge. Cameron's life's been through 3 stages. When he was young, my wife took him to our kids' tumbles, tumble down type exercises, climbing into tree houses and all that type of thing, which was a good fun type exercise, but it was something you wouldn't normally do at home. So that was when he was younger. As he got older, of course, I found that after he had a second mishap in 2010, we found that he couldn't run. He could walk, but he couldn't run. During that time, he was working as they call it, search and recovery agent. He used to pick up the trolleys at Woolies and bring them back and put them in their stalls. And he could do up to 17 at a time, which was quite amazing for someone like that. And he was very good at it. He built himself up to be very strong. So that was the second sort of phase of his life. But we knew he couldn't run. I took him to a recommendation from one of my workmates to an exercise physiologist who was local to us, and she was fabulous. He'd go there for half an hour every fortnight, and I said to her, I want you to see if you can make him run. So she put him through all these challenges, which were just blowing my mind because I couldn't see how he was ever going to run. And then one night after about probably 12 months maybe of this, she said to Cameron, tonight you're going to run. And Cameron just looked at her and she said, walk down the other end of the room and I'll put my arms out and you run to me. So I had my granddaughter with me. She was only about 8 at the time, and myself and the exercise physiologist. And Cameron ran about 15 metres and he turned around and he ran back again and he ran back again. To me, we were all in tears, as you could probably appreciate. But she had achieved the goal of getting him from walking on a wheelie walker at some stage there to walking normally to then running. And that became a very important part and change in our life. So we knew that exercise physiology was going to be something going forward. Unfortunately, she moved on and they didn't replace her. And then Cameron's next phase came about. So we had to wait. Okay.
What about 5 years or
Okay.
and how's that been?
Okay. So phase 3 of Cameron's life started in July 2020 when he woke up one morning after his grandmother's 90th birthday, said to me, I can't walk. He just collapsed and couldn't walk. So I took him down to the local hospital. They thought he had COVID. Then they realised he was a neuro patient, and they took him up to the hospital. After several visits there, backwards and forwards, where they couldn't find anything wrong, we came across a private guy that had been working there to fill in and help out. And so he took him under his wing as a private patient. And he discovered that some things needed to be changed in Cameron's jump system. So that was a complete change to everything and resulted in 4 touches on the brain, which at the end of it, they then said, we can't do it anymore. You just need to go to the rehab doing physio. The physio, whilst it helped him with his muscles, it didn't give him any great advantages of walking. So we contacted some friends of ours who said, you should try exercise physiology because it challenges you. And so we thought Cameron's a lot of the challenge, and that's what we did. And that made all the difference. It has over the last 2 to 3 years now that we've been engaged in that. He's now gone from being bedridden to being able to walk on a wheelie walker on a regular basis. We were placed out of the hospital, taken out of the hospital and placed into a rehab unit for 6 months, and he didn't show any signs of improvement. We were then made to move again to a specialist rehab unit. And once again, he didn't get a lot of treatment there, but they were frightened a little bit of him because he was big and tall and heavy, and they were fairly small physios. And to their credit, they tried very hard, but they still couldn't get him to walk, whether it be a wheelie walker or whatever. So there was no EP, it was just physio. When he moved to the NDIS house, we were contacted by some friends who recommended an EP, and we started working with him about 2 years ago. The results were amazingly quick in showing that once the EP set a goal, Cameron would achieve it because that's what he did, always sought to achieve and exceed the goals. So without going into specifics, the exercises and goals and challenges were something that Cameron accepted readily, but he achieved them, and that's now enhanced his life. He knows that he can do things that he couldn't do before. He can now go out with us because he can get in and out of his wheelchair into a car, or in and out of a wheelie walker into our car. And when we get to the other end, he can walk in with a wheelie walker or wheel his wheelchair in, depending on where it is, and join in. Whereas previously he was just, and that was it. So the EP side of it has been a great challenge. Cameron looks forward to the challenges and looks forward to the times that he has with the EP, and as opposed to physio, which he disliked because of the way they used to twist him and turn him around and so forth. So there is a difference between the two, and he knows that, and he looks forward to it every time he has a visit. So that's made a big difference in his life, and I keep challenging him now because we don't have as many visits. I've taken over that role of doing the exercises that's been provided to us, and he can get in and out of his wheelchair to his recliner, and he can get into bed. If he fell on the floor, he can get up off the floor and get into a chair. He can go to the toilet by himself if he was allowed to, but of course the carers in the house don't allow that, and there's good reasons for that with insurance. But just the same, there is improvement in those areas, and we work every day with him to try and get him back to somewhere where he could maybe walk on a walking stick or something like that. I've set him that goal, and so far, I think he will achieve that by the end of the year. Okay, well, we're mainly focusing on the last 4 years now because prior to that, things were a lot better and easier to deal with. Now he's not living with us anymore, which is sad. We talk to him at least 3 to 4 times a day on FaceTime on the phone, which has been a wonderful addition to our technology. He's accepted the fact that he's now living in his own house. And I guess the way to approach that was to say, if you were 40-year-old and didn't have this issue, you'd probably be married, have kids, have to go to work, have to come home, mow the grass, help look after the kids, drive a car here and there and all those sorts of things. I said, all that's done for you now. So I said, you really got it good, and you get to go out 3 days a week, and I take you out on the weekend, and you mix in the community, people recognise you, you're still well known at various places. I said, one of the things I've tried to do with him all these years is engage him in things that I do, and This is probably a faller from my father's relationship with me, where I wanted to be like him all the time. And he was a great sportsman, and Cam was trying to follow me with his golf and cricket and so forth that he played. So there was all that, not only emotional support, but this physical support, trying to match him, because he became quite a good golfer. At one stage, he was rated #2 in Australia for Special Olympics, and had a hole in one, which was fantastic experience, and won a few titles around Australia, and travelled overseas. So the support of being there with him all the time, he knew that I was there, but he didn't necessarily fall back on me unless he had to. So that was a real good trust thing that we built up between us. I'm there if you need me, but you go and do your own thing. And he did very well. He got lots of other awards as well, which is too hard to talk about. But yeah, uh, he was certainly one for accepting challenges. And despite the fact that the situation he's in at the moment is not as good as we'd like it, he's still happy. So that's emotionally and physically good for us. Well, initially I was working full time, and so that took a lot of my time out. But as time went by, I was able to retire, and especially over these last 4 trying years, it's been a challenge. You have, and we have had to face fear that he's going to pass away on a number of occasions, but you have to hope for the future. And if you rank hope above fear, then you're going to have a fair chance of winning, particularly as that flows through to his emotions as well. One thing we've always tried to work with this Cameron's mental health, and by doing so, by praising him, by remembering things, taking photos of things that he did when he was younger, remembering great times, etc., is some sort of a challenge, because you're going to dig him up and find him and put him in front of him, and then all that type of thing, surrounding him with photos and so on the walls, and getting people to come and visit him that have known him over the years. But they are sometimes challenges. But yeah, I think the most thing was to never give up, and keep hanging in there, keep working with the exercises that's been provided to us, and just keep reminding him that there is light at the end of the tunnel for him now. The first answer is don't give in. Always try to inspire hope, not only in yourself and those around you, but also and of course, your family member that's got the injury. So hope springs eternal for everybody. Even in the direst situation, you should look for hope. That being the answer, the question is, how do you do that? And I guess the best way to do that is to seek the advice of professional people to give you the tools to recover, and also to find out from your friends and other members of the family and other people who are in like situations as to what they've done, and try and trade off that information and use it for yourself. It may not be exactly the same, because as we all know, everybody's different. But when you find someone that's got an injury or a situation like you, what have you been doing? And you talk, then they talk to you, so you can take some of that information and use it. I found that extremely useful, having been in a situation for a long time, and especially with dealing with people with Down syndrome and autism and so on. They have different issues, and you just have to try and take a little piece out of everybody's things that they do to try and help them. And the more activities you can give them, the more hope they have, and the more opportunities they have to try and get better. We all know that medical science goes ahead in leaps and bounds, so there may be some sort of cure for these types of things as years go by. The idea is keeping them happy and emotionally stable during those years, so that if something does happen, he'll be there to take advantage of it and appreciate what's gone before him. But that's the thing that I would always suggest to people, is seek advice from professionals, get back up, read reviews, all that type of thing on who you're dealing with, seek advice of other people with similar situations, and always keep hope in your heart.
That's fantastic. One more question for you.
Chris.
Say you had an opportunity to wind back the process in the last 5 years. In this recovery, the most recent recovery process again. So that during your wind back the clock, is there anything that you would do differently that sent him even better in for a future?
No, we couldn't. Everything was taken out of our hand. Once we got into the hospital system, you were pretty much at their instructions. If they said he can't do this, you just had to believe them. Once we got him home out of that system and were able to then get him into his own house, we were able to change things. And we sought the advice of professionals and other friends who had had injury. And that's how we got involved with exercise physiology, speech pathology, those types of things that are specialised in dealing with brain injuries and trying to get a recovery process going. But we couldn't do anything different because we were under the guidance and in that health care regime. You couldn't take him out of the hospital. You couldn't take him out of the rehab situation because they were looking after him. And we weren't experts. They were. So fortunately, we've fallen on our feet with the EP and the speech pathologists, the dietitians and so forth that have come in now. And that's been a bonus that we could control. When it was out of our control, we had no choice. And I guess if you look back and say, could I have changed it? The answer is no. We never had a chance because we didn't know what was happening.
Mhm.
And when you have 4 touches on the brain over a period of a year and a half, there's certainly something going to go wrong somewhere as they tried to fix what they thought they could do to fix his problem with his walking. Unfortunately, they didn't. And those 4 touches probably have made his position what it is today, but that's not their fault. They tried very hard. They tried extremely hard. So I couldn't do anything different. The first few years, because he was a little kid, but in that period from say 14 or 36, he had great access. He had the club that he belonged to behind him. He had friends and a relation girls. Had a girlfriend for 4 years. So all those things helped in accessing the community. He worked at Hungry Jack's. He never worked on the counter because he couldn't. He had no money skills.
Yeah.
Still hasn't. So, but he was still Mr. Friendly, and as a result of that, he got on well with everybody. There was nobody that disliked him. The neighbours all liked him, and they still ask after him all the time.
Yeah.
So that he's always had access to the community. He has a different community access now because he goes in the wheelchair in the back of a bus. But they take him to places, and we were in the other day to the local leagues club, and they said, "G'day, Cameron." They knew him from coming down there with the bus. They take him for afternoon tea or morning tea type of thing. So he's become friendly with those people as well. So nothing's changed inside of him. It's just he can't walk. If he could walk, he'd be the same Cameron he was for the last 40 odd years. So always Mr. Friendly. Just down. Yeah, he has the thing. Yeah. So there's nothing we could have done to change that. And even now, where he lives, he's friendly with all the carers. He's got a fantastic memory for names. There's probably 40 carers that go through that house in a week. He knows all of them by first name. I don't know any of them because lots of times they wear a mask, but I don't know any of them.